Hello, how are you? I'm fine. I hope you guys are also fine. My name is Jewel Khamar and I'm going to give my digital presentation for my subject criminal psychology. My student ID is 000881711. Today I will be going to talk about a criminal. Just give me a moment. About Ted Bundy. Who is Ted Bundy? His full name is Shirley Robert Bundy. The bond date is 24th November 1946. He was known for his serial killing and rapist, one of the most notorious criminal of his late 20th century. In his early life, according to article written on biography.com, editors, Bundy was born in the Burlington, Vermont. His life started with his mother's secret shame. Louise delivered Ted at the home for unwed mothers in Vermont and later brought her son to her parents' Philadelphia. To hide the fact he was to hide to hide the fact he was an intelligent child, Bundy was raised as an adopted son of his grandparents and was told that his mother was his sister. That's like very unwanted situation. He showed an unusual interest in the macabre at the age of early. Around at the age of 3, he became fascinated by knives. That's very scary at this small age. A shy but a bright child, Bundy did well in school but not with the peers. Education. Bundy graduated from the University of Washington in USA with a degree in psychology in 1972. He had been adapted to a law school in Utah, although he would never earn his degree. His life. While a student at the University of Washington, Bundy fell in love with a wealthy, pretty young woman from California. She had everything that everyone wants, like money, class, influence. He was After some time he came with the breakup and he was very much devastated. By the mid 1970s, Bundy had transformed himself, becoming outwardly confident and active in a social and political matters. He was also like going in politicals and everything. He even got a letter for recommendation from the Republican government of Washington after working on his campaign. He did some work in campaign and he also got a letter from the Republican government of Washington. That was like a great. He was not like he is considered as a brilliant by these victims. Bunty confessed to 36 killings, not one, two, 36 killings of young women across the several states in the 1970s. But experts believe that final tally may be close to 100 or more. Not one, two, three, four, not even 36, but more than 100. The exact number of women Bundy killed will never be known, so sorry for that. His killing usually followed a pattern. He often raped his victim before beating and killing. That is very brutal and very bad for that. While there is some debates as Bundy start killing, most sources that he began murder rampage around 1974. He start killing like in between of 1974 or starting in 1974. Nature of offense. Around this time, many women in settled area and nearby the organ went missing. Where he was living, some of the movements near them went missing. Stories circulated about some of the victims last being seen in the company of a young dark-haired man known as a Ted. When the people asked them that do you have seen the woman with any guy or something, they told that they saw a young dark-haired man known as Ted. He was described as this. He often lured his victim into his car by pretending to be injured and asking for help. This kindness was proved as a fatal mistake. This was the mistake understood by many people and they get into the trap. That's very, very, very horror. How he was caught. In the fall of 1974, Bunty moved to Utah to attend law school, and women becoming disappearing there as well. Before also some women were disappearing, and they talk about that, and no action was taken. But now in the fall 1974, Bundy moved to Utah to attend the law school, and women begins disappearing there as well. The following year, he was pulled over by the police when he was traveling somewhere or somewhere he was going. He was pulled by the police. A search of a vehicle. He was driving a car or whatever. The vehicle was uncovered, and they pulled aside, and when the vehicle were checked, the crowbar, a face mark, and a rope, a handcuff was found in his car. That's very bad. He was arrested for the positioning of these tools, and the police began to link him to the much more sinister crime. Police start some investigation, ask him question, what about what he did, why the things are in his car, and everything. In 1975, Bundy was arrested in the kidnapping of Coral de Ronch, one of the few women to ask up his clutches. Like, he was used to do the kidnapping and everything. He must like took a woman at 1975 whose name was Coral de Ronch, and by the time the woman escaped somehow, and he went to police and they finally caught. He was convicted and received a jail of 1 to 15 year. That's like the usual which is there. Prison escapist. Bundy escaped from the prison twice in 1972, not once, twice in 1977. How he escaped, I never know. In December, Bundy escaped from the custody again. It was the third time when Bundy escaped from the custody again. He climbed out of a hole he made in the ceiling of his cell. How he is making a hole in a like a prison is like a shocking for me as well. How can someone be take something into the prison and like make a hole in the ceiling? That's too terrific. Authorities did not discover that Bunty was missing for not 1 hour to over 15 hours, giving the serial killer a big head start on the police. What were police doing at the time? It's like 15 hours gap is a lot of time. Chia Omega started a housebreaker. After Bunty's second escape from the prison, he eventually made his way to this house in the Florida. On the night of January 14, 1978, Bunty broke into the Chi Omega secret house in Florida State University. He attacked four of the young female residents, killing two of them. That's like very horrible. On February 9th, Bundy kidnapped and murdered a 12-year-old girl named Kim Lynch. My God, a 12-year-old girl is like so small. That's very much bad. These crimes marked the end of his murderous rampage, and he was soon pulled over by the police that February. Again, when he escaped from the prison, he never stopped doing crimes. He was still excited and very much like enthusiastic that he was more doing crimes and crimes. As written in here, over here in the presentation, he attacked four females in resident, killing two of them, and one was like a 12-year-old girl, which is like very bad death. On January 24th, 1989, Bundy was executed around 7 a.m. from the Florida State's prison in an electric chair, someone sometimes known as Old Sparky. The name as Old Sparky. Outside the prison, crowds were like cheered and even set off fireworks after the Bundy's execution. See that it was like so much popular at that time, where the peoples are like the crowd was gathered to one place and even set of fireworks. Bundy's body was creamed in a grimace, and so public ceremony was held. Before he was executed, his request his ashes be scattered in Cascade Mountains of Washington State, where he murdered at least four of his victims. See, as the prisoner would ask him, "What's your last wish?" The before he was executed, he requested his ashes must be scattered in the Cascade Mountain of Washington States. He wants to scatter the ashes of his body at where he killed at least four of his victims. Why the he wants to do like we don't know. After that, many books and many movies also were like written for their incident. Many book publishers were ready to write on it. The people were like finding too much about him, what was his story. People were eagerly wants to know how he killed, how his life was, what he did in his childhood, what he did in mid. how he died. So like publisher were like crazy for the writing of book. First book was written like The Stranger Beside Me, Ted Bundy, The Shocking Inside Story. It was published on 1980. The first book was written on this 1980, The Stranger Beside Me, Chad Bundy, The Shocking Inside Story. It was about the inside story. You may buy it online as well. It must be available. It must be available as a ebook and offline book as well. Second book was written as Phantom Prince, My Life with Ted Bundy. It was written by Bunty's ex-girlfriend, Clover, about dating and loving a serial killer. It was published in 1981 while he was on the death row. Her girlfriend also wrote a full book of her side, how he was with her, how her love life was going on, how was dating and everything. You must also read that book. It must also be interesting. The third book was written as Ted Bundy, Conversation with a Killer, published in 1989 by author Stephen Mission and journalist. This collection of stories was created from more than 150 hours of interview with Bundy. See how much hours of interview they would have taken from the Bundy to know his full life about him. These are the some other books which are also written on him. Defending the Devil, My Story or as Ted Bundy Last Lawyer, published in 1994, was written by Pauline Nelson, a newly minted lawyer who was offered Bundy's case pro bono by Washington, D.C. law firm where she worked just weeks before she was scheduled to execute it. Many books were written, many authors were interested in him to write a story and everything. Another book was written around in 2016. I Survived Ted Bundy, The Attack Escaped, and PTSD That Changed My Life, published in 2016. Rhonda Stable, who was brutally attacked by Bundy in Utah in 1974 but survived. See, someone would have survived from the attack in 1974 after the Bundys died. She would have been feel confident about the incident, and she wrote a whole book how he battled and her experience about the incident. These are some citation information which I took from. Article title is Ted Bundy biography. Author is biography.com. Editors website name is the biography.com website. Here is the URL from which I took all my references. This video is only for the education purpose, not to harm any emotion, not to harm anybody's life, and never ever do such things where I'm not motivating anything. This is just for the educational purpose, and the all information is taken from the authorized website, and I have mentioned their all names. Thank you.